So this is the Burrow Opera Media Console, a nice looking unit under $1,000 that features a neat soundbar solution inside. I've slowly been getting back into 2-channel audio, and I did it at the right time, in November with all the Black Friday deals. The Weem Ultra was on sale, Upscale Audio had a closeout deal on the Scubaste Muranos, and I scored a deal on a pair of used tier monoblocks from Shit Audio. I slapped all of this in our cheap sub $200 media console, and the thing started sagging in the middle. It was time for an upgrade. Despite champagne taste for audio, I am a cheap ass at heart, so we set our console replacement budget at under $1,000. This Opera Media Console from Burrow kept coming up in searches, and it's marketed towards audio heads as it has the utility of fitting a soundbar inside and having the sound project through the front slatted doors. I just needed something that could hold full-size audio equipment, as I don't really like having gear exposed in the living room, and Burrow's $800 Black Friday sale just sealed the deal. For transparency's sake, Burrow did not reach out to me. I bought the Opera myself, and they have no idea I'm even doing this review. So I'll just cut to the chase. If you need something that is of higher quality than the cheap consoles on Amazon, then this should make you happy. However, if you are an audiophile with plans of putting bigger DACs and separates inside, I do not recommend this, and I'll go over why. Here's what I like. While this is still mainly MDF with a wood veneer, the overall feel is of higher quality with a more solid fit and finish than the much cheaper options. Instead of having a flimsy cardboard back, it's a thicker piece of wood or MDF. It's also easier to put together with an intuitive slot and slide feature. And lastly, it looks like a mixture of mid-century modern with a hint of British colonial style, if you're into this overall aesthetic. As for what I don't like, while the sliding doors work just fine for my needs, they do feel a tad flimsy. I also don't like how they cover a portion of the front, even when fully open. To be honest, I don't really open them that often, but I wish it was a solid, steady feel when handling them. Next, some people have said the amount of clearance for their soundbars may not be enough. Bottom line, if your soundbar depth is greater than 6¼ inch or 160 millimeters, and the height of your soundbar is over 5.5 inches or 140 millimeters, then don't plan on fitting your soundbar here. It's probably going to be too much of a tight squeeze. Next, the legs feel a tad too short. If you're used to a 23 or 24 inch console, which is the size of most speaker stands, going to this 20-inch height may make the whole thing feel a bit too demure, not mindful. And lastly, although the solid wood backing can be considered a positive, it absolutely sucks for full-size stereo equipment. A cardboard back can be cut to make precise openings for cabling, and you don't get that here. And you can't just remove the backing either because it provides stability and rigidity to the rest of the console, so you have to be creative. But despite all this, if you like the price of the Opera, or like the look and have the unfortunate circumstance of being an audiophile, I will give you some tips on how to deal with it all. First, let's deal with the backing. There are 2 solutions you can go with. If you have experience with a jigsaw, you can make the hole bigger like a user did on AVS. This is the best solution, but I didn't have one, so I went with option B. You can actually insert these pieces upside down and place your heaviest equipment on the bottom shelf. Doing this gave me rear access to my power conditioner and monoblocks. If you choose to do this, you have to remove these guiding pins with some pliers, but despite this little hack, you could still run into problems with an XLR slot that doesn't line up or something similar. But to rectify this issue, you can get angled cables from a quality provider like Cable Matters or something. As for the short legs, I emailed Burrow and they flat out said they do not offer longer legs. But what you can do is turn to a place like Etsy, and there are multiple woodworkers that will offer to give you exactly what you want. I measured out what I wanted, and I'll show it here in case it could help someone. But in the end, that would have cost me close to $100 or maybe a little bit over. So I instead went with option B and got these pre-made legs on Amazon. When shopping around, make sure the replacement legs have an M8 screw that is no longer than 120 millimeters from the top of the leg. If it's longer, you may need some large fender washers to create some extra clearance, as the bolt length is fairly short. So here it is perched up higher. I like the increased height as it gives the piece more presence, but your mileage may vary depending on what your needs are. The downside of lifting it is the bottom cables become more exposed, so I'll deal with that later. So in the end, the Burrow Opera Media Console is a good looking option that can serve your soundbar needs. If you plan to fill this with sizable audio equipment, I do not recommend it, but it may be able to work for you if you're willing to make some sacrifices. Ideally, if I could rewind time, I would not have purchased this, but I still struggle to find something of similar quality and aesthetics for the price. I may have just went with an open 2-shelf rack solution, especially as a reviewer, as I'm always rewiring gear and having easier access to the back would be better. If you have a recommendation that looks nice, please put it in the comments below. I'm seriously looking and entertaining some other options out there. But anyway, hope that was helpful. If you have more questions about this console, let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer them. I will see you all in the next one. So long.